Welcome to Getting a Grip. That's what I'm calling my Substack lives. Getting a Grip. It's a half an hour discussion about what's going on, and you can feel free to put your thoughts in the comments. This is a day after Super Bowl Sunday. Nobody's talking about the game. Everyone's talking about the halftime show. It's kind of gotten to that place, hasn't it? I actually turned it off after the halftime show, after Bad Bunny, because the quarterback for the Patriots is so young, and just I can't even imagine how nerve-wracking that is. And at least they made it to the Super Bowl. Kudos for them. But it's hard to watch your team lose. Frankly, it's painful. But it wasn't a shutout. They did score some points. So everyone was talking about Bad Bunny, and it was amazing. I loved it. The energy of it was amazing. We're all talking about the halftime show today. And last year we were talking about the halftime show too. Right? Remember that? Kendrick Lamar, remember that? And I had been for years, personally, as an artist, as a songwriter, singer-songwriter, for my whole life, basically. I had my pet peeve about the Super Bowls. Some of you have known me for a while, and you've heard my rants over the years about, if you're an artist with that huge of a platform, you need to use it. You need to send a message. Boy, did I get what I asked for. That's in a really good way. What Bad Bunny did was an answer to this stupid hatred. Yeah, an answer to this stupid hatred. And I just was noticing a photo of when they had the electric poles. I mean, there was so many messages. I want to go back, and I will go back, and I'll watch the whole thing again a few times. And I said that last year about Kendrick Lamar's performance too. Am I getting his name right? I think that's right. It's been a while. So really important messages, really critical that we saw that, because we're all reeling from a MAGA movement that is destroying the United States of America. The really hard to fathom idea of people who proclaim that they're Christians and they don't act like it. Beware of wolves in sheep's clothing. That's from the Bible, and those of us who are into spiritual things and love what Christ professed to his disciples and to all of us, there's like no room for us. There's no room for loving thy neighbor as thyself. There's no room for that in a movement that thinks it's okay to take children away from their parents. And we know all the horribleness, and to shoot anybody in cold blood on the streets for nothing. I'm going to play you something that I just happened to come across, because we need to talk about it. It's definitely not Christian, right? And Bad Bunny just exudes love. He's amazing. So let's just listen to this. This is apparently Evita Duffy Alfonso speaking on. I'm just going to play this for you to give you a sense of where they're coming from, and it's just hard to fathom.
First of all, he understood that the future of this country, it rests in our young people. And that's why he was on college campuses trying to quite literally evangelize young people. And he also understood that what we're facing right now as a nation is an identity crisis, is a spiritual crisis. And so everything he did had that in mind. So this halftime show is really about taking back American identity, taking back our culture.
Just to not confuse you. She's talking about Charlie Kirk, and she's talking about the Turning Point alternative halftime show.
Embracing our Christian culture again. So it was truly in the spirit of Charlie Kirk, of everything he stood for. And I think it's so important for young people to have seen this halftime show and seen the number. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves.
Numbers speak for themselves. Okay, I love me some numbers. But first,
there's more.
Let's clock it and call it out when we see it. Okay, let's get back to the numbers. Estimates are that around 6 million people watched the Turning Point USA halftime show, while over 130 million watched Bad Bunny. So the live audiences do seem proportional because Bad Bunny snagged 96% of the viewership. And to check, y'all, right, a foot USA.
So anyway, I just wanted you to hear that it's their way or the highway, and that's just wrong. Yes, American identity. So Christian nationalism says that first of all, that we should be a theocracy. Second of all, that we need to be forced into one religion. And if you are an atheist, you still have to be forced into one religion. That's their whole shtick. And when they say we're having a crisis, we're having a spiritual crisis, right? I agree that we're in a spiritual crisis. I was talking the other day right here on Substack about, I think it was like 3-4 days ago, that America has an identity crisis. We really need to hone in on what we stand for. And so the Christian nationalists are saying that we're having a spiritual crisis. Their answer to a spiritual crisis is, from all appearances, to hate the other. We all need to get a grip, right? We need to define what we're doing here. John was trying to remember his high school Spanish with Bad Bunny. No way. I'm trying to learn French, and I can't understand somebody talking fast in French. So when somebody says we need to be more this way, and they have only one way, what they're telling you is you need to go this way, and that no other way will do. And what they're finding out is, I'm speaking without wanting to sound like they're all wrong and they're all messed up, because that's not my intent. My intent is to spell out how limited that is and how controlling that is and how un-American that is as they go about telling us this is the American way to be. What? To tell people what they can say, what they can't say? She was bringing up Charlie Kirk. What do we hear after his tragic, horrific assassination? That we couldn't speak of him. We do speak about people and what their lives meant when they were here, right? And we didn't hear very much at all about, being sorry and sad and comforting when we lost people to gun violence that happened to be Democrats. So for anybody to say we're better because we're Christians, all the while supporting a 34 times convicted felon, besties with Epstein, and his name appears in the files that we have 38,000 times, but they're saying they're Christian and that he's their chosen one. When they're saying that stuff, then they get mad at us and point at us when we're watching this happen and we're going through it and we don't agree with them. Because the evidence speaks for itself. This is what happens with cult mind control. All we can really do is be as not divisive as possible given that circumstance. with all the violence and all the hatred and all the stochastic terrorism and all the actual terrorism and all the people that are suffering in our country and all the othering, making immigrants, rather than acknowledging that immigrants built the United States of America and slaves, America's original sin. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Except the immigrant. Let's remember, Jesus Christ was an immigrant. And this isn't a religious substack, but I can't help but go there. So why that's being used is because it's a mind control mindset. And there's lots and lots and lots of money behind it. Because in order to feel like one is all powerful in a negative, dark way, in order to feel like one is all powerful, that person or institution has to make you feel like you are wrong. And that's not working. And what we saw in that halftime show, from my perspective last night, was actually what we all experience America to be. Most immigrants, I think, I don't know the statistics, but most I think are Latinos presently, in present day. I would say that that's probably true. And especially in places like California, which I didn't remember this, but California and Mexico used to be one, just like, Massachusetts and Maine used to be one state. So naturally, there's lots and lots and lots of Mexicans in California. Every single one of us has people that are Latino in our communities, right? I live in a mostly Sicilian Portuguese community that was settled by immigrants from Sicily, and some from Ireland, some from Canada, from Nova Scotia. But we are so accustomed to being a country of immigrants. And I don't have a problem with somebody from another country. It's not a crime to be from another country. My grandparents were from another country, right? So we're in a really precarious place here because we have to walk this tightrope kind of, in a certain way. We don't like to have to guard our words and our ideas. We don't like to do that. So, in an effort to not get into a big verbal brawl about things, we kind of, in a way, this is what I think, we kind of have to let them do what they're going to do. And that's kind of what we're doing. And that's kind of what happened with this Super Bowl, where they were just like, we want nothing to do with Bad Bunny. He's from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is part of the United States of America. What is the problem? Oh, we don't like that he speaks Spanish. I thought it was kind of fun to just get into the vibe without knowing what he was saying. And this is what it's like. I honestly have to say, this is what it's like to be deaf in one ear, which I am. And this is what it's like to be psychic. You just kind of figure it out from the vibe. You just kind of, wow, I like the vibe. And I think that was very cool that we got to just appreciate it, even if we don't speak a word of Spanish. And they had an actual wedding ceremony during the Super Bowl, which that's one for the Super Bowl history books for sure. We want to be happy. We want to be inclusive. We don't want to feel like, oh, well, you're no good, but I'm good. We don't like that. Normal people don't do that. And when I say normal, I mean people that are naturally kind, naturally easy to get along with, naturally wanting to kind of help one another, right? Naturally that. Yeah, Michelle's saying she misses the New York City diversity. You can find diversity everywhere, right? And the truth of the matter is, we actually, most of us enjoy people from different cultures. There was a time in my life I spent a lot of time with people from India and in an Indian community. I love the food. I love the culture. I love, my neighbor next door from Mexico has a Mexican restaurant, right? And then, there's this, there's so the Sicilian festival for the Sicilian patron saint of the fishermen right next door to me. I mean, this is what makes our life interesting. Do we all want to be just white bread? Boring? This is what's made America America, and Bad Bunny put it all on display. Everyone dancing and laughing and having a great time, and the audience was electric. I do think it's funny that we are not talking about the football game. We can learn so much from one another. It's really true, Michelle. And it's just like people that travel, that love to travel and go all around the world. I'm a big fan of Rick Steves. He's been around for decades. The travel shows and how much fun he has, and I've seen even Rick Steves talk about world with a lot of episodes where he's in Europe and talking about the devastation of World War II, which is beyond imaginable. And people that he meets from all walks of life, and and stressing the importance of that connectivity. It is unnatural for most people that are fairly normal to hate somebody because they're from someplace else. Children don't do that. Children are taught racism. Probably everybody here can remember. If you remember your childhood at all, you might remember when somebody, maybe an adult or maybe somebody, said something not nice about a person from a different culture. And as a child, you probably were confused. If you can think back that far, when you first became aware, and if you're not white, you became aware of it very young. I am certain of that. And America owes an apology to everyone who's been through that. But racism is a learned behavior. And during this time that we're in right now in the United States of America, what we're seeing, I really do believe this is what's happening. I feel like some unseen force is forcing us to face the darkness, and we didn't face it as a collective country, community, a collective body of the American people. We haven't figured out how to purge this. And what we don't reveal can't be healed. And it's being revealed so it can be healed. So in a certain way, a show like that shows us that we are all in this together. We are all Americans. What did he have on that football that he held up? Something about us all being Americans. If you know the exact quote, you can put it up there. It's going on a t-shirt, I'm sure. We needed that affirmed. Do I listen to Bad Bunny? No, I didn't know his music at all. And that wasn't even really the point, right? The point was to show unity. There's that word again. Was it we are all Americans? Yeah. There's that word again, unity. There are things that we can all agree on. And a lot of the things that we all agree on are the things that make life worth living. I mentioned the other day during my Substack that, the greatest generation, the World War II generation, that generation that a lot of our parents were in, and like around World War II or around when World War II ended, that time period. Yeah, there were a lot of things that were going on that weren't great, but for the most part, people treated one another with respect. And people were actually like wanted to show up. I'm just speaking in general terms, but we know that this is true. Like, for instance, back in the 40s and 50s, men dressed and wore like a fedora hat or some kind of a hat and tie and, went to work with a suit on and women dressed nice. They wanted to look nice. It was just part of the culture. Not for them, but for others, right? Showing up to a nice dinner and with your sweats on is not like a respectful thing. We just know, we know that how we show up matters, and it matters not only to us, it matters to the people that we encounter. It's an act of love to show up and to be present with people and to be joyful. And so what Bad Bunny showed us was that we unite through our joy. And what did it remind me of? And we've had this kind of pop up here and again for a while now. The joy, the word joy that was going all over the place with the Harris Walz campaign. We were excited. We were getting our joy back. It didn't leave. It just needs to be reignited. It just needs to be fed. What would she say? Like 160 million people or something watched the halftime show? A lot of people didn't watch the game. Okay. Thank you, Barbara. It said, "Together we are America." Yeah, that's right. On the football. Yeah, I want a t-shirt that says that. And we're here to enjoy our experience of life, and it's fun when we do it together. We are wired to cooperate. We are wired to care for one another. Like, a mother caring for her child, that's wired in. We are each other's caretaker in a certain way. We want to know that we have each other's back. And you got that sense from the show. And I mentioned the electrical poles because that Puerto Rico suffered from a huge, they're always having hurricanes, but one in which I don't remember what year it was. Maybe you guys know. This administration didn't give them any aid for 6 months. That's unacceptable. They're part of the United States of America. What we can all agree on as normal, healthy human beings is that we enjoy happy things. We enjoy seeing community come together. Like if you've ever been to a fun block party or a community concert or, events in the park in the summer or farmers markets or like people are smiling. They're having a good time. Why are these MAGAs so miserable? What is it? Why is it that they have to have some kind of a feeling that they've controlled you in order to be happy, and it doesn't even seem to make them happy? You remember that when people in Puerto Rico had no power and electricity for months and months? It was a good 6 months. There's no excuse for that. At the time, we were the richest country in the world. Now, not so much. We needed that. We needed the shot in the arm. Before I go, I want to talk about the Save Act that they're calling the Save America Act. These MAGA Republicans right now are in the position of putting on full display that they want us to suffer as much as they can possibly get us to suffer. And so they're attempting to take away our voting. The SAVE Act, deceptively named, kind of like Citizens United, deceptively named. You know, these terms they sound so innocuous, right? Oh, so if you're not paying attention, but now we know better. We know the source. So if the MAGA Republicans and Dumpy are calling this the SAVE Act, you know it has to do with saving them. Or what did somebody say the other day? Stop Americans from voting everywhere, right? Let's just know that that's what that is. And tomorrow they're going to try to pass that. The MAGA Republicans are going to try to pass that. They're trying to take away voting by making it almost impossible. Yeah, their energy is low vibration. We're raising the vibration and they don't like it one bit. So these are the MAGA Republicans that not only want to steal our democracy from us, and they're doing everything that they can to steal it, and they are succeeding in stealing our democracy and stealing our money, but not so fast. Because we're on to them, and there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, probably more of us than there are of them. This regime is tanking. Nobody likes them. So now they're going to try to force feed us. And we are not having it. When we see that many people at a Super Bowl cheering for unity, then that's a force for them to be reckoned, to be reckoned with for them. And they know it. Now, the most unbelievable thing that's happening right now in our country is that Donald Trump appears in those Epstein files 38,000 and more times. And these MAGA Republicans have been adamant about covering it up. And I talked about the other night that we have become a lawless country, and it's up to us to not make that continue any longer. They're literally protecting somebody who was involved in the largest and longest, probably in human history, sex trafficking ring in the world. So when we hear people talk about this and call them pedo protectors, that's exactly what they're doing. And I don't know how they live with themselves. I don't know how Pam Blondie looks in the mirror and thinks that she's okay. Maybe she doesn't. We don't even have to start talking about Kristi Noem because that's a whole nother ball of wax. And they're trying to get us to accept this. And this is where the rubber hits the road. Because we will not stand for showing the rest of the world that we support a heinous criminal. But what we've shown the world thus far is we support a heinous criminal. So there's really no turning back. We can only plow forward. Love is our ammunition. Community, coming together, uniting is our strength. Not giving them more attention than they deserve. Not caving into despair. I've been talking about how often I put in comment sections of pro-democracy channels on YouTube, stop using the word worried. Stop saying this should send shivers up your spine. Unless it works to get people motivated. But I don't know, the word worry makes me feel like cowering in a corner in despair. I mean, that's the kind of energy that's evoked. We do not stand for this. Last night we got a reminder that we stand for love. And there's a real strong, reinforcing, affirming power for all of us when somebody with a huge platform, billions of people, listen to his music, Bad Bunny. I do want to find out how he got that name. I'm sure there's a long story to it. He reminded us that we're not alone. And that has the MAGAs shaking in their boots. These MAGAs in Congress, how dare they? How dare they protect this heinous criminal? How dare they not impeach and remove him? How dare they? You wonder why he's called Bad Bunny too? His charity is called Good Bunny Foundation. Interesting. I think that we can feel hopeful. I think that we can feel overwhelmed at how much work we have to do as a nation, but I know we'll get there. I have seen things that feel miraculous. Let's not focus too heavily on all the horribleness. Let's just make sure we're aware of the horribleness. Call your representative tomorrow. Get them to not pass the SAVE Act and get them to obliterate, to dismantle, to abolish ICE and DHS. They have nothing to do with protecting people and fighting crime. They are not protecting people. It is the polar opposite. Evil turns things upside down. Don't forget that. Evil turns things backwards. ICE and DHS need to be shut down in no uncertain terms without delay. And if you hear a representative saying that, maybe give him a call and say thank you. But let's get on the horn this week. It's going to be an intense week. I can promise you all that. It's going to be intense. So, does anyone have any questions? Be hopeful. Be full of faith in whatever you believe in. Believe in miracles. And I'll see you soon, and I'll make a video for YouTube in a little bit, and I'll upload it just to go over a few things from the news. Okay, we'll see you soon. Thank you. Hit the thumbs up, and I did, before I go, I did write an article this morning, and I want to just show it to you. You probably all got this because if you got notification that I was going to be on, then you got this too. Sorry, MAGA. Hate is losing. And I just love that picture. We've all seen it. It's gone viral. The only thing more powerful than hate is love. Say it every day. Thank you. Thank you. Enjoyed the article. Say it every day. It's a great affirmation. The only thing more powerful than hate is love. We've got this. I'll see you really soon. I like to say namaste. Good night.